65 is a new sci-fi action film that's part of a dying breed of movies. It stars Adam Driver, who crash lands on an unknown planet which he quickly realizes is Earth about 65 million years ago. It's there that he meets the only survivor, played by Ariana Greenblatt, and it's up to them to make their way across an unknown terrain riddled with prehistoric creatures. 65 is one of those movies that I get excited to see. I go to the theater with my popcorn ready to sit down and be highly entertained in sort of a mindless popcorn flick kind of way. It seems like that's happening less and less these days though, since movies like these are getting really bad reviews most of the time, and they seem to be coming out less and less often. Look at movies like The Last Duel or The Northman. Both of those are fantastic films, but hardly anyone went to see them. Some reviewers on the platform are even going as far as to call these movies streaming movies, telling people that they're only worth going out to stream. It's hard to blame anybody for that because sometimes that is the case, but it's definitely killing this type of film. The original idea with the smaller budget and no IP to stand behind. And that's the case with 65 as well. It was really depressing going to the theater and seeing this film, being the only one in the theater basically. And they had Adam Driver as the lead, but it didn't matter. Those days of having one big name on your movie and having people go and see it are over. But despite me being the only one in the theater, I did have a good time with this film. And it's a little bit hard to admit that, to be honest with you, because it's receiving so many bad reviews. Every YouTube reviewer I can find does not like this movie, but I actually think that's part of the problem. Before I delve deeper into that, let's get some of the negatives out of the way. The script is very cliche. The story's not breaking any new ground. This idea of an advanced civilization accidentally discovering Earth 65 million years ago. But other than one twist, it's an extremely predictable script with very little tricks up its sleeve. And speaking of crappy writing, Adam Driver's character had a dismal setup. We get about a 2-minute scene that establishes everything we're supposed to know about this character. What he cares about, what's his motivation, why he's doing this mission. And if I was an AI robot, I would be able to absorb the information that was given to me in 2 minutes and say, yeah, I had a complete understanding of his motivations and why he's doing this mission. But being that I'm a human being, I didn't really feel anything at the end of the day. There was not enough time given to that storyline, and it was a little bit flimsy to begin with. It's fair to say that Adam Driver had very little to work with. Adam Driver's acting ability was highly underutilized in this film. Emo crybaby Kylo Ren aside, I think we've seen in recent years Adam Driver's acting ability in movies like Marriage Story. This man can act, and I feel like I could almost see it on his face that he had so little to work with. There was just nothing there. And for a sci-fi action movie, there's a surprising amount of jump scares that the film relies on. Most of the action sequences are actually more moments where your heart gets blown out of your chest and then a dinosaur ear rapes you and leaps out of a dark corner. To me, that's not really action. That's a little bit more horror-ish, and it's not even the kind of horror that I like. I don't know if it was a budget restraint or a creative choice, but it felt like the film was holding back on the action in general. For having just landed on uncharted Earth, it felt like Adam Driver spent most of the time fighting raptors that don't have any other value than to scare you, again, with their little screech as they come out of a dark corner. There's a lot of moments where you see bigger creatures like T-Rexes from afar, and there's this promise of what's to come, but it was anticlimactic because it only came in the third act right at the very end. Now that does it for my negatives, and it may sound like there were a lot of them, because there were, but to circle back to my original point about how this movie's part of a dying breed of films, I still had a good time with this movie. It was fun. I don't care. At the end of the day, there are hundreds and thousands of opinions on the internet, but what is the point of going to see a movie? To have a good time, to be entertained. I think that's for most people why they leave their house and go to the theater. I had a good time with 65 from start to finish, shoveling popcorn in my mouth the entire time. Think back to movies like Predator. A movie like that does not come out anymore. It's a simple concept, it's a sci-fi action film, and they had a big star, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Back then, it seems like that's all you needed to make a great movie. Now, I'm not saying 65 is as good as Predator, but what I am saying is that Predator would never get made today. And there was no deep backstory or lore in that movie. All that stuff came later with the other Predator films. When Predator opens, all we know is that Arnold with a big cigar in his mouth hops out of a helicopter, does this epic scene with Carl Weathers, and we're introduced to Arnold's team, and next thing you know, they're headed into the jungle to neutralize a threat. That's all we're given. It didn't require Arnold's character to have this huge backstory. It was what it was. It was just a fun movie. And although I'm not saying 65 is as good as Predator, it has the same appeal. I sat there, shoved popcorn in my mouth, and had a good time. And the film does not overstay its welcome. It's only an hour and a half long, and I thought that was perfect. And that leads me to the ultimate reason why I think they did screw up with Adam Driver's backstory is they tried a little bit too hard. If they cut out the first 2 or 3 minutes of the film where they didn't try to artificially add some superficial depth to Adam Driver's character, it actually would have worked out better. But that aside, I thought Adam Driver did a good job, and his character gets beat up throughout the film. There's one point where he pops his shoulder out of place and he can't shoot his gun. There's another scene where he's in some sort of quicksand or tree sap or something and starts sinking, and he needs saved to get out. And even his gun, his rifle that he carries around, doesn't seem overpowered, even though he's from a highly advanced civilization visiting this prehistoric Earth. He's dealing with things that he's not equipped to deal with, and it made him more relatable as a character. It's one of those things that makes the first Die Hard such a great film as well. And as much as I wanted them to show more of the dinosaurs and more action, by not showing it, it actually made it a lot scarier. It reminded me of what I'd feel like if I just landed on Earth at that time and didn't know where I was or what was around me. I think we can all agree that the biggest fear we have is the unknown. Our minds fill in the blanks, and that's what this movie allowed us to do. So as much as I wish they went all in on the action, I was satisfied with the tension that they built in the first and half of the second act. There's also a twist that I wasn't expecting. It's something that wasn't shown in the trailers, it's not in the synopsis, and I was really glad they did that. It added an extra element of tension, it added sort of a timeline, and it made things a lot more interesting overall. If the film didn't have that, I don't think it would be as good of a movie. There were also some pretty clever sequences in the film as well. We follow Adam Driver and Ariana Greenblatt through this cave system, for example, where he had these sensors set up and they start going off when they're waking up and they know there's a dinosaur near. And it pushes them deeper in this cave system, and you're not sure if there's other dinosaurs in there or how they're gonna get out. And the way those events unfold was not lazy. It actually was pretty enjoyable and clever in my opinion. It really is the little entertaining things that kept me going throughout the film. 65 is a good time overall if you can turn your analysis on your brain down a little bit and enjoy some popcorn and just have a good time with it. With surprisingly good CG, a committed performance from Adam Driver, and an endearing chemistry between Adam Driver and Ariana Greenblatt, I think you'll have a good time with this movie. It's not going to break new ground, it's not going to make you contemplate life, it's not going to be the most amazing thing you've ever seen, but it's going to be an entertaining hour and a half, and if we support movies like this, they'll keep coming out, and hopefully better and better ones will start getting produced. I think a lot of people can't get their movies made right now because they're not part of an IP, and that's a problem. I'm still juggling with a rating system, but for now, I'd give this movie about a C. Anyway, thank you guys as always for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any idea for a rating system. I don't want to do A through F if I don't have to. Thank you guys as always for watching. See ya.